Hi, everybody. Jennifer here from Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies. No intro and outro music. I'm doing things a little bit different. As you can see, I am not in studio tonight. It was just such a beautiful night. I had to get out of the house. So I'm coming at you al fresco. Not al fresco, al fresco. Is that the expression? Coming at you from the great outdoors, somewhere in the heart of the Bridgewater Triangle. So we are broadcasting live from the great outdoors in the Bridgewater Triangle. So forgive us for not being in studio, but how could you not on a day like today? So if all goes well, technically, Bruce will be joining us shortly. We're going to talk to Bruce about his experiences as a paranormal investigator, how he got interested in it. And also I did a tarot card pull for Bruce. So we're going to talk about that too. But of course, before we do any of that, I've got to do what I call my regular housekeeping. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching on Facebook Live now, anybody who's watching on YouTube Live now. I really appreciate it. And thank you if you're watching at a later time as well. As always, shout out to Ladybug Pest Control, my day job. Very, very supportive of my hobbies. I really appreciate that. And also any local peeps, if you need pest control, I'll be in the office Monday at 7:30 at Ladybug Pest Control. So join us. Or give me a join us. No, don't join us for pest control. Call us if you need us. The perils of being live. You say something stupid and it's going to be out there forever. Anyways, so like I said, thank you to Ladybug Pest Control for supporting my hobbies. And what's next? I want to remind people that we are an 18 and over space. You know what I like to say? Sometimes I'm a little bit disturbed that we're not more disturbed by some of the disturbing things we talk about. Also, your favorite beverage in your favorite cup, pack a cold beer, pour a cup of coffee, pour a glass of wine. This is a 420 friendly space. Smoke them if you got them, because you know I sure did. And also we're 18 plus, not just because of that, but because I do like to swear sometimes. Unless Auntie Kathy makes an appearance, then I will watch my language. And Bruce, you will watch your language too if Auntie Kathy shows up, okay? So I do apologize for any background noise, but like I said, it was so nice. I did have to get out of the studio today. So we're coming at you al fresco from somewhere deep in the heart of the Bridgewater Triangle. On that note, all the housekeeping is done. I want to welcome everybody who's watching. I do have Kerry over here to my left. Kerry, my #1 moderator. She will be responding to comments and saying hello to everybody on behalf of Lizzie Lou, Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies, and all that good stuff. Now, because I am coming at you live from my phone, and I've never done this before, now I've got to get Bruce on stage. So bear with me just a moment. Bear with me. Bruce, are you still there? I don't see you there. Can you rejoin, Bruce? Can you click that link again? So while we're waiting for Bruce to click that link again, let's see what's going on. Besides the beautiful weather, all things paranormal, investigations lined up coming up in the summertime. We've got investigations lined up in the fall. We have an overnight coming up at SK Pierce Mansion. We've got something in the works for the Shanley. So lots and lots of exciting things coming up. Bruce, how are you making out, buddy? I don't see you. So, all right. Well, we're going to give Bruce a few minutes to try to get back in. And I'm going to look at my different tabs. Bruce has entered the studio. Add to stage. Bruce, welcome, Bruce, to Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies Alfresco live stream from somewhere deep in the heart of the Middleborough, from the Bridgewater Triangle. How are you tonight, Bruce?
Okay.
Good.
And
good.
I promise I won't be joining the pest control.
It's one of those things that it's like we're there if you need us. But I hope you don't have to call, you know. It's one of those weird things. Well, good. That means you don't need it. So listen, Bruce, let's get right into it. I've been really excited all week to talk to you. I'm going to give Bruce a little bit of an introduction. We've known each other for a little bit over a year. We met at an investigation at Middleborough Town Hall when Bruce and I, surreptitiously got seated next to each other, both as helpers at a paranormal investigation, and we just clicked. And I think the rest is history. For the last year, Bruce and I have been good friends. But Bruce, it seems we talk about things like in the current, like this is happening and that's happening. What I would really like to know from you is, how did you get interested in the paranormal as a subject? Tell us about that.
I was 4 years old, and I grew up in a haunted house. Um, like a lot of us probably who got there, I guess you could say, itch to get into the field. Growing up in a house that was haunted. It got so bad that my parents had to call in the Catholic church that they belonged to, and they had to come in. And, you know, most people think when you hear the word exorcism, it's done on a particular person that has issues, but nobody never really hears sometimes of an exorcism of the home. And so what happened was they came in, I lived in the first floor of a 3-floor house and old part of the city of New Bedford. And so what happened was they came in, they did my family's home, and then they left. About 2 weeks later, the woman that Portuguese family that lived in the second floor, they started having problems as well. And so we told them what to do. They called our church to come in. They did the same thing again, moved up to the third floor. The newlywed couple that lived in the third floor, wife was a nurse, husband just started his own business. She come home one night from work and was putting groceries away. Next thing she knew, bottles of soda were flying out of the fridge. She screamed, left the house, went downstairs to our house, told my dad and mom what happened. Then she wasn't coming back. She stood at her parents' house that night. And the next thing I know, they moved out and there was an apartment available across the street from where I lived, down the block. And then that was it. And things started happening again with my family in the house. And eventually, a year and a half after that, we moved out. Never had a problem after that. But then I was fortunate enough after I've already began SCPI, which is my paranormal company name.
What does that stand for, Bruce?
South Coast Paranormal Investigation.
Okay.
And what happened was I ended up getting a call from the people that lived in the first floor of the home. And I was like, and one of my investigators said, "Hey, we got a call for this place on Bridge Street in New Bedford." And I'm like, "Really? What house?" Because I used to live down there. And they were like, 57. I'm like, "That's my old house." And so I got a chance to go back. Apparently, they were still having issues till that day. And when I asked them what was going on, and they told me that one room they keep closed, never go in, was my old bedroom. And it's funny because growing up at 4 years old, I was always constantly having nightmares and night terrors. It was the same constant dream every night for over a year and a half until eventually we end up leaving there. And I was always having a dream that I was in hell fighting the devil. And so from that point forward, I always had a love for it. It was like a call to me, where anytime anything came on TV about hauntings or shows about it, whether it was like that old In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, or Unsolved Mysteries or things like that, I was always glued to the TV watching it, until one day this movie came out called the haunted or the haunting, and it was about a home in Pennsylvania that was haunted. And then they called in this husband and wife group, the Warrens, to come in. It was a really like cheesy TV movie of the week kind of thing that was made, but it was to the point where it intrigued me so much. It was like, I want to do this. And so I was always going all the time to the library to research this stuff. It wasn't until after I graduated high school and went to college, that I really started putting my time into learning how to do this. And of course, this is like June of 1996. So it's been now over 30 years that I can officially say I've been doing this. And so back then, it's not as, I guess you could say, small of devices that we use today. I had to lug around 13-inch TV monitors with VCRs and bigger sized camcorders and cameras and lots of big, huge, devices that I was lugging around in 2 or 3 totes. And then at that point, I would start going around and trying to learn how to do this on my own until I got fortunate enough 4 years later to meet somebody who was running a class on the paranormal. So I figured, what the heck? I'll sign up. So I took a ride up to Warwick, Rhode Island, to, if you can guess it, the TAPS office. An investigator by the name of Kristen Gartland was running, using the office after hours to run Paranormal 101 classes. And it got to the point where I was like attending. And it was like, I'm not going to show you anything new every time you come. I'm like, yeah, but you might come up with something new that I haven't thought to try yet. So it just really intrigued me. And then she started giving me this packet of like papers and stuff. And she goes, here. And it was how to conduct investigations, how to conduct interviews, how to conduct all these little things and things to look for and ask about. So I just, on my own, decided I was going to create my own handbook to how to investigate the paranormal. Then I started recruiting people to work for me, and I was
Bruce,
getting,
I do have a couple questions for you, but before I ask the questions, where can I
sure.
get my hands on this handbook? Where can I get my hands on a copy of this today?
I will have to,
Is it out of
only one
print?
copy exists, and it's in my hard drive, so I can print one out for you.
You better hit up the printer. That's right. I want a copy and I want it signed. So, anyways, well, listen, let me stop you there, because I do have a couple of comments and questions. First of all, your story is very, very compelling. Thank you so much for sharing a very personal story, and your journey. It really was a journey. I don't think I've personally ever heard anybody's history come full circle like that, as far as where they grew up and then getting called randomly to go do an investigation there. I think that's very interesting. I also thought it was interesting that everybody in the household was affected in this 3-story building. Good old 3 deckers in New Bedford, but New Bedford's that land has been occupied for thousands and thousands of years, so there's all kinds of history there and spirits there. So like I said, I thought that was really interesting how everything came full circle. And then I also wanted to comment on the classes that you were taking. I completely understand why you would show up week after week after week, because you never know when that next time is going to be that one thing that you didn't hear or you didn't know. So I would do the same. I think that's kind of what I'm doing. I just keep showing up every place because I feel like I want to learn more and more and more. So tell me about some of your outside of the house that you grew up in. Tell me about some of your paranormal experiences. Tell me your top two favorite or most chilling or terrifying. Your top two paranormal experiences.
First one would have to be in Fall River, Mass. There's a mill in Fall River called the Durfee Mills, and it's just off of 195. And I got called by a woman who owned a beauty salon kind of place then. And so she said she was having issues, and she had a woman who came in for a hair appointment one day, and she was telling her how she found it funny how the spirits have been enjoying her being there, but there are some are in other parts of the building that are not friendly. And so she was like kind of shocked. And then the woman who owned this salon was sort of like, well, thanks for letting me know. And she just happened to, her sister just happened to be dating one of my uh, investigators at the time. And so she gave me the keys to the building. She goes, have at it, figure out what's going on. I'm curious. And I'm like, okay. So we kind of set everything up. We kind of did a run through the place, and it gets to a point where it's almost getting to the time where, it's getting late. Might as well stop packing up soon. And all of a sudden, on the video monitor, I'm seeing the camera facing between the bathroom doorways, and then all of a sudden it moves on its own, and it's like complete like 180 on it. And I'm like, did you guys see that? They were like, what? I'm like, the camera's not in the same spot. And they were looking around like, well, we didn't touch any of the wires that are was fed into the salon. And we're like, oh, that physically moved. They're just the camera. Because we had all the wires taped down with what do you call it? Duct tape. So it wasn't going anywhere. And so finally we went and go check when one of my investigators comes back and goes, yeah, it's facing the other way now. So we were like, that's interesting. And then it wasn't until I got home, I started going through all the audio. And back then, audio was a micro cassette recorder with a lot of little micro cassette tapes. So I'm going through them and going through. Finally, you start hearing stuff, and it's like, oh, that's not something you hear every day. And this is before I started learning about what a class A, B, C EVP was. To me, I thought I was just going to hear these things all the time, because it was as if you and I are having a conversation, and it was clear as day. And from that point forward, I was like, I guess, because then I would start to go online and look at other people's, and I'm like, I can barely make out what they're saying. And so for me, it was like, how is it I'm getting results like this, and yet I'm hearing other people's, and you can barely hear what, and it's like all scratchy, all. And so that's when I started learning there are different levels of EVPs. So I was like, oh, so there's still lots to learn. So again, it was trial and error. And so then I told her, I want to come back the following weekend. We went back the following weekend. And what I ended up catching the next weekend was my camera was lifted up, thrown at my back. And when I turned around, I looked down, and there it was. So when we watch the video back, you see up in the air, and the next thing you know, you see my sneaker, because that's after it came down onto my back. And I'm like, okay, this is not fun anymore. So then it was like, I'm more intrigued. I want more. And it became like an adrenaline rush. It was like, could I would be like, hey, Sherry, can I ask your sister for the keys again this weekend? And she was always like, I'll call her. And she's like, they're away on vacation. I'm like, oh, gotta go a week without doing this. And so then it got to the point where the following week we went back again. And this time we had more access to the rest of the building that was attached. Because at the time, the building has had the registry of motor vehicles in it in Fall River. It had a 99 restaurant attached to it. And which I know the restaurant's still there, but the registry has moved since. And one of the district attorneys of Bristol County had his campaign office in there. So one night he happened to come in to get some stuff for an interview he had to do. And he was kind of surprised to see us in the building. And it was like, we got the off the record, so to speak, from him about what he's experienced in the place. So, and it was pretty interesting, but then it was like all audio shut off, and we were good about that. We were like, I just want to hear what he heard, because he always said it felt like he's heard things move around and shuffled around in his office. But then when we went to the next part of the building is when it started getting even better. And I actually sent you 2 pictures before you went on today of what ended up getting caught in a hallway.
Yeah, let me see if I can
stairwell.
bring them up. I don't know if I'm going to be successful, but I'm sure going to try. All right. Let's see. Bear with me.
Yep.
Hang on, folks. I want to, I got 2 pictures here from Bruce. Going to try to post them. Getting there. Appreciate your patience, everybody. Thank you. There we go. All right. So I have too many files. Story of my life. Let's see. Now, okay, here we go, Bruce. Go ahead. Tell us about that. What are we looking at?
What happened was we're walking down. Now, you got to remember, this is a dark hallway. All you could see is the flash from my camera hitting up against the white wall. And it wasn't until after I looked at the pictures, because I think you know me by now. I never look at my camera. I just keep flashing, and didn't realize until I got home that there's somebody at the other end of the hall, and there was nobody in this building but me and 2 other investigators. So who's that at the end of the building? At the end of the hallway, I mean. So then at that point, the next one looked like it was changing its arms shape to a different, like it was moving. And so that point was like, what the hell did we just catch?
Give me a second to get the next one, okay?
Yep.
Because this is new to me, doing this on mobile, and I just don't want to lose anything.
No problem.
Let's say. Yeah, like I don't even know how to get that off of there, Bruce. I guess.
Oh.
Hang on, I'm getting there. All right, that's this. Oops. There we go. That's the second one.
Yep. And if you look at the picture real good, you'll notice that the arms are out, like it was moving at that point. And these were like constant picture snapping. And this is with a 35 millimeter film, because back then digital camera wasn't still really it was expensive. If I think they were just coming out. So from that point, I was like, I don't know what this is. And then when I went to CVS the next day, I was like, whatever you do, give me every single picture that comes up. I want every single negative, every single picture. And so I don't care if you don't see nothing on it. I have a reason for wanting it. And the girl was like, sure, okay, no problem. So 4 rolls went in, 4 rolls came back, and I got just about every picture back. And sure enough, those were there. And so that's the story on that place. And then it just became, that I know of, the only group to ever go in there and do that place. So it was kind of like, um,
Very special when that happens, and you know
yeah,
it.
but then
Yeah,
people started going in there and hiding out till the building was locked up, and people were then going in and try to investigate on their own once word got out. And it, then I learned a valuable lesson. Don't let your, and don't let your stuff get out there, because then it triggered the owners to be like, oh, what's going on in here in my building? And well, we were
it's
hired by one of your
it's
tenants to come in.
it's like fishing. It's like fishing. When you're fishing and somebody walks by and saying, "Are you catching anything?" You tell them no, because you want them to keep moving along, even though you're hiding a whole string of fish, a whole string of trout in the brook. You tell them, "Nope, nothing to see here. Keep moving along." Um,
Yep.
and that's what you've got to do in that kind of situation too. But you had said like capturing really good EVP early on, you get hooked, you get addicted, you want to chase that rush, that EVP, that success. And then you end up with these great photographs that you took. And again, it just kind of fuels that. Oh, there's more to discover, more to learn. I can't wait to get back out there. Now, Bruce, you are a father to young sir, as I like to call him, to Brian. And Brian, if I'm correct, just turned 13 in December, right?
Yep.
Now Brian is definitely taking after you and following in your footsteps. Tell us about how Brian got involved in the paranormal. Was it because of you, or was it because of his peers, or what? Tell
I
us about
didn't
that.
want, well, it, it was interesting because I have 2 kids. My stepdaughter, who is much older, and she's 19 in college. And then there's Brian, who's 13. When they were younger, they were always wondering why I, dad's leaving for the night and he doesn't come back till the next morning. What's going on? And it wasn't because of work. And so it came to the point where one day when they got older, um, I told my daughter Lily what I did, and she didn't have much, so no big thing to her, but she really didn't care so much. But I waited till Brian was about 10 and explained it to him then. And by the time he was 11, he shown an interest and was curious, and he kept always asking, can I come with you? Can I come with you? And I'm like, sorry, buddy, you got to be a lot older. And then it got to a point where one day I was like, when you're 13, we'll talk. I said that as a joke, but I didn't know he was going to take me serious. So the day he turned 13, he goes, I know what I wish for my birthday. I was like, okay, how much is it going to cost me and what do you want? He goes, oh, ain't going to cost you anything. I'm like, okay, well, good. What do you want? He goes, I want to go ghost hunting with you. I'm like, um, and I've always had a problem with that. And I think it was Christy that I heard say this once. I don't ghost hunt. I don't hunt ghosts. I investigate. So I explained to him, I'm a paranormal investigator, and I had to explain the difference of what I do as opposed to hearing those other words and those guys on TV and all this other stuff. So I said, tell you what, when it's springtime, I'll start taking you out. But it didn't, I think, wasn't that long after he was like, all right, it's March, let's go. And it was like, all right, fine. So I started taking to him a couple places. I started showing him stuff. And I told him, all right, I'm going to print you out the handbook when I get a chance. And it just happened that one of my cousins who used to be an investigator for me happened to find one of his old handbooks. And he was like, oh, I got it. You want it back? You can have it for him. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, you sure you don't need it? He goes, like, I don't know what I'm already doing. I'm like, just asking. So it was like, okay. And he goes, my son looked at it. He was like, are you serious? I got to read? I'm like, yeah. And I was like, and that other book that you got for Christmas, you got to read that too. He's like, oh, I got homework. I was like, oh, there's a test at the end, by the way. He goes, are you serious? I'm like, dead serious. I was
For
like, you want to
anybody who
go
wants to
paranormal with
know,
us?
for anybody who wants to know, Bruce is referencing a book that I gave to Brian for Christmas. Right? Is that the one you're talking about? Didn't
Yeah.
I give him like some type of paranormal investigator's handbook? I sure did. I sure did. So, well, when
And
did I met Brian where? Where was that? At Masonic?
yeah, Middleborough
Masonic, right,
Lodge.
at the Masonic Lodge. So where else have you taken him?
I've taken him when I started training him. I don't care what anybody says about it. I still believe the best place to go start learning is a cemetery. And so I took him. He's gone to the Masonic Lodge, of course, and he now keeps bugging me to go to the Oliver house. And so I was like, it's coming. Don't worry about it. And he's been bugging me about the teen center in Weymouth as well. So,
All great places that I've been there. And now have you been to the teen center?
no, actually, I talked to Christy about it and her friend who runs it. And so we're supposed to be setting something up to
Great,
do that, to bring
great.
him and use him as a guinea pig. Because I figured, well, if there's teens there and there's stuff going on, and he was right for it, just leave me alone in the room and I'll take care of it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
But he's
that's a
had his
great
own
idea.
experiences. He's happy to say he's gotten EVPs, that he's gotten voices
Wow.
respond to him. He's gotten touched already by things. He's been pretty much on his way. So
Great.
at first I was thinking about starting a youth kind of program with SCPI, but it got to the point where I said, you know what, I'm just going to work with him, get him through, and by the time he's ready to go and he's done enough, then I'll relook at that idea of doing a program like that. Because I've talked to a lot of teenagers who were really interested but don't know how to get into it or get involved. And so I always thought it's a good way to kind of get on. And what inspired my son was watching a YouTube show called Project Paranormal, Project Fear.
I love that show.
Um,
I love that show. But let
so
me, Bruce, I find that interesting. I'm going to kind of segue into the card pull that I did for you. I find that very interesting that you had said that you had considered starting a program for other youth, and then you actually decided to pull back and just focus just on Brian and put your efforts there. I think that we're going to see that in the card pull that I did. So I am al fresco, and I'm starting to get a little buggy, and I'm going to give myself a little bug spray if nobody minds. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Bruce.
no problem.
I can't wait to hear more, but I'm going to go ahead and do this card pull if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I actually brought the cards with me so you can see them.
Okay.
I really think that, like I said, wanting to do kind of the greater good, but pulling back and just focusing on your family and yourself. And Brian, you're going to see that in these cards. I believe. So Bruce, I kind of meditated over this, knowing that we were going to do this live stream tonight, and I've been looking forward to it from the minute you said, "Hey, I'm interested." I'm like, "Yep." Bruce DM'd me. I'm like, "Yep, yep," because we knew eventually we were going to be on together. But so, anyways, I've been thinking about it, and I meditated, and I do know Bruce a little bit, so I said I'm going to pull 3 cards: past, present, and future, and see what we get. And I just think that this is very interesting. And certainly everything here doesn't relate just to that, not doing a bigger thing and just focusing on your family. There's other things going on here. And I know a little bit about your personal life. And I think that you'll find that this card pull was really, really interesting. So for your past, Bruce, the first cards that I pulled was the Hanged Man inverted.
Okay.
So it looks like he's standing up. He's not. It's inverted. And that's the Hanged Man inverted. And so interesting that I was thinking about your past when I pulled that. The inverted Hanged Man signals the end of an era. That's your past, the end of an era, the end of a period of waiting, the end of giving up a lot, the end of great sacrifices. That time is ending for you. You're not going to be stuck in limbo anymore. Things are going to be moving forward for you. So I thought that was really interesting. Again, I know some things going on in your personal life, and it sounds like it's going to start, that log jam's going to break, Bruce. Things are going to move forward. Be very cautious of old habits.
Okay.
Comfort is nice, but comfort, when we're comfortable, we don't do things, we don't change. But ultimately, this card tells us that you have to be careful of giving too much of yourself. And
Okay.
when we give too much of ourselves, we don't have enough left to take care of ourselves. And when we give too much of ourselves, it leads to resentment and not enlightenment. And we're always looking for enlightenment. So don't give too much of yourself, because you got to take care of yourself. Okay. Now the second card I pulled, I loved this card for the present. I pulled the 5 of Swords, and these are from the Salvador Dali tarot deck that my good friend and moderator, who's right to my left, gave me for my birthday. But the 5 of Swords, and if you notice, he's regaled in butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
So what do butterflies mean, Bruce? Metamorphosis. 5 of Swords, as far as the present goes, means that you're coming out of a period of conflict. There's some questionable victories here. Questionable victories here. Be careful of wins that appear as wins, but ultimately you have to make that personal sacrifice to have a win. Be humble, take the losses, lose the battle, win the war, Bruce. Lose the battle, win the war. That's my advice to you on this card. Don't win anything at great personal cost. Okay. And again, this card, metamorphosis, you are changing, Bruce. You are becoming enlightened. You are coming out on the other side of things. And are you ready for your last card for your future? Are you ready
Bring
for
it
this?
on.
Well, she is naked, so I apologize, but I pulled the Justice card. And I just thought that was very appropriate. So Bruce, what's your sign, Bruce?
I'm a Libra.
The Justice card. Now, Bruce, I don't know when your birthday is. I am goosebumps. Just so that you can see, this is written down. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. The Justice card is the Libra card.
Okay.
Okay. Truth, fairness, and accountability. That is what she stands for. The Libra card is strong. It represents the element of air, and we can't live without air. We need oxygen to thrive. She gives us themes of diplomacy and peace. and equilibrium, Bruce, an even
Okay.
keel. She gives us an even keel. So again, based on some of the things that I know that you've gone through in your personal life, and then also what you're talking about with Brian, make you saying, I
Hmm.
want to do something for a bunch of kids. Wait, I need to hold this back. I need to focus on myself and my own family and my own son. Um,
Yep.
you didn't make that sacrifice to your own greater good. You didn't lose your own sanity over it. So be really careful. Stay true to yourself, Bruce, and lose some battles to win the war. Wow, this is one of the best damn card pulls I have ever done, and I was just goosebumps, and I just couldn't believe it when you said you were a Libra. I mean, what
Yep.
are the odds of that? So really, well, it had to be 1 in 12, right? So, geez, Bruce, I do have to wrap things up. Like I said, there's starting to get
No
a little
problem.
buggy here. That's the what happens when you go when you film al fresco. But Bruce, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing
Got it.
your personal story about growing up, and your experiences. And I really look forward to doing more live streams with you. I have an idea for you. Tech talk with Bruce, and me and you will tech talk off to the side about that one of these days. So I really have an
Yep.
idea for you, Bruce. And you're an honorary gal, and any guy out there knows that that's a compliment to be an honorary gal. Okay,
I enjoy it.
so, so, Bruce, I'm gonna let you say anything else you want to say, and then I'm gonna sign you off, and then I'm gonna wrap everything up here. Is there anything else that you wanted to say? Any parting words, Bruce?
I just wanted to mention that one thing that helped me along the way was my background. I'm an electrical engineer, so that whole tech part of what we do, um, I used a lot of the equipment over the years, had to fix a lot of the equipment, and even try to see about building my own stuff over the years and to see how difficult it would be. And then I have a hospital pharmaceutical background as well. And so I've spent a good 13 years doing that. So when it comes to going to homes of people and stuff, I've got an idea when I'm doing interviews when we're asking them, the personal questions like, are you on any type of meds? It helps to know what a lot of the stuff does because then you know how to go about the investigation of, okay, so if she is doing this or he's doing that, then that could be caused from this type of med, just to keep in the back of my mind when I'm still doing the investigation. So it helps to have a lot of that background.
You just bring up a really interesting point, and that is that paranormal investigating is very multifaceted. You don't just walk in with a detector in your hand, and you don't just walk in with a recorder in your hand. There's environmental factors, there's health factors,
Yeah.
medication factors, mental health factors, carbon monoxide poisoning in somebody's house. There's lack of sleep, all kinds of stuff, stressors, all kinds of stuff. But again, you just bring to the forefront,
Pets
Bruce, that
problems.
investigating, you have to look at all the factors,
Yeah.
all of them. And that's why you're my friend, Bruce, because I want to learn from you, and you just keep dropping these nuggets of wisdom, and I thank you very, very much for it.
No
So,
problem.
all right, Bruce. On that note, I'm gonna try to sign you off and then say my goodbyes. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sign you off or
Okay.
not, but I'm gonna say my goodbyes. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay.
I really appreciate your time. Let's see.
And
All
thanks
right, I'm
everybody for
gonna
watching.
bye bye, Bruce.
Bye.
Oh my God, you guys, how lucky are we that we got to spend the last 45 minutes with Bruce? I was fascinated by his story of growing up in New Bedford. His whole life came full circle. His other experiences that he's had and his background in electrical engineering and pharmaceutical, how all of that comes into play to be a multifaceted and talented paranormal investigator. Bruce, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Also, giving myself a little pat on the back. That was one of the best damn card pulls I ever did. And I feel, and I hope Bruce agrees, that was spot on, right down to the Libra. I can't believe I nailed that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for bearing with me while I did this live stream al fresco outside, getting a little buggy out here. I'm going to sign off. Thank you for watching now. Thank you for watching later. I will see everybody live next weekend right here on Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies. And thank you to Kerry, my moderator to the left. Thanks, Kerry. Bye-bye, everybody.